school board meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody remotely and live. And we ask your indulgence tonight. We have a lot of motions and votes tonight, so it'll be a rather lengthy meeting. We'll start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
An executive session was held from 6:50 to 7:07 this evening for personnel issues. We'll now have a roll call.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Ferrick?
Mr. Ferrick?
Here.
Mr. Gansey?
Here.
Dr. Kraus?
Here.
Mr. May?
Here.
Mr. Pratt?
Here.
Mrs. Wojtek?
Here.
Mrs. Wade? Here. Mr. Martin?
Here. We'll now observe a moment of silent meditation, please. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting, June 16, 2022.
So moved.
Mr. May, is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mrs. Wojtek, any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Unfinished business. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Mr. May, is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Kraus, any discussion on this motion? No discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Marks and visitors.
The teachers aren't
Doing anything?
They're not today.
Tonight? Administrative reports. Ms. Moorcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Just want to let you all know we're currently working with Central Greene, Jefferson Morgan, Southeast Greene, and West Greene on a countywide in-service that'll be hosted at Central Greene this year. We have a motivational speaker, Jimmy Casa, author of multiple books and a national speaker. He's going to address the teachers along with collaborative meeting time. Our teachers, I just want to give them a shout out because they do a great job presenting at this. In fact, our teachers are probably the most representative of any district as far as sharing what we're doing, which is good and bad. They get to present, but then sometimes they don't get to attend some of the meetings. But our teachers do a tremendous job sharing what we're doing, so very proud of them for that. Wanted to let you know the PEF Chattanooga conference that I got to attend at the end of this past month of July. It was an incredible experience. I got to connect with multiple teachers and administrators from the Tennessee region in the Innovative Educator Fellowship, and it's really helping to become more transformational leaders that'll push the school to new heights. This really helps not only to make those connections with someone from another region and to see what they're doing, but really to affirm what we're doing here at school. I had the opportunity to talk about some of the innovative ideas that we're using within Carmichael's, and people were amazed what a little district like ours could do. Talked about our media center here, our flight simulators, our STEM labs, our career paths, and they were very impressed with what a school like Carmichael's, it's a small school under 1,000 students, could do. In fact, the vice president of that foundation, I actually got a chance at dinner with the president of that foundation as well, who has some relatives in the Pittsburgh region, and they're going to try to make a trip up here just to check out our school and see what we're doing. So it'll be interesting to host them and be able to show, again, Chattanooga's doing some great things. It's a beautiful little city, but like I said, it really did affirm a lot of the stuff that we're doing here as well. So I'm very, very proud of that. Another piece Mr. Krupa kind of mentioned, but just want to mention to everyone here, I've been named the Superintendent of Record for the Greene County Career and Technical Center for the next 2 years, and I do look forward to working with Mr. Krupa and giving our students access to genuine career experiences. That place is it's a gold mine. It really is. It's a gem. And Mr. May's been part of that board for years, but they are really doing incredible things for our kids and giving them some great opportunities. So I'm proud to be part of that for the next couple of years and look forward to working with Mr. Krupa. Teachers are back in the buildings. They're working hard getting their classrooms ready. I do appreciate their effort and willingness to learn. Mr. Frank's people they're moving and grooving and getting things done, but they're doing a nice job, so I'm very proud of that as well. Also want to take a moment to officially introduce Mrs. Chelsea Holloway. She is our new business manager. She is here today, so for those of you viewing on the internet, and for those of you that are here, This is Chelsea. She's really hit the ground running, stepping into this position, is doing a great job, so we look forward to a lot of great things from her.
Good.
So that concludes my report, Mr. Martin.
Also, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Tracy Wade. She's on the phone.
Oh.
She couldn't be here tonight. She's under the weather a little bit. And her first meeting is remotely.
Sorry.
That's okay. Couldn't help it. And any questions for Mr. Moorcroft? No, thank you, Mr. Moorcroft. Elementary principal, somebody
He's
saying anything for him?
excused, he's on vacation. He'll be back Monday.
Middle school, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Whitlow. Going through the packet, there were a lot of things that we did this summer that I would like to recognize. Number one being the summer academy that we had in June. It was 4 weeks, a variety of different topics. We had 20 to 25 students on a consistent basis. And I would like to thank, I apologize, Cassie Manhart, Mr. Frank for the aviation class, Ms. Robinson. Physical wellness was Mr. Kroll, the culinary courses, Deja Donaldson, Ms. Papalarchek, Ms. Robinson, Ms. Manhart on that as well, and then we finally ended up with Ms. Moorcraft for the Steve. Guys, this is one of the best programs I've seen. Haven't seen a lot, but it really, between Mr. Berry and what we did at high school and middle school, there's a lot of opportunities for our students in the summer. I am very proud of that. I'm very thankful for the teachers that committed, at least a week of their summer to doing that. I would also like to thank Ms. Cte Pathway, Ms. Anderson Simmons, and Ms. Ashton Holland. They headed up our credit recovery program for the summer for students that needed to take classes to be promoted onto the next grade, and I thought that they went above and beyond for some of our students, at least my middle school students, so I am very thankful for those teachers as well. Moving down, some important dates, August 18th from 1 to 3 will be our 6th grade orientation in the auditorium. So come out, 6th graders, family members, please come out to that so you guys can get a better understanding of how we're going to try to do things in the middle school. August 19th, and as we talk about that, I'll come back to that date as well. But going through the packet, the first couple pages is our new bell schedule. When you guys look at that, we have 2 different bell schedules, one for the 6th graders and one for the 7th and 8th graders. I need you guys to understand this. A lot of time, a lot of effort from Mr. Becky, a lot of input from my teachers and the students, and a lot of leading on Mr. Moorcraft before we decided to do this. I'm very moved by what Mr. May said a long time ago. When you make change, you need to look at what's really bad going to happen. So we started there. We looked at when we make changes, how's it going to affect everybody? Guys, when we came up with this bell schedule and the classes that we're going to implement, there was really one glaring negative. And I was told that it was kind of like this before, so I don't really look at it as a negative. Our 6th graders are going to eat lunch early. They're going to eat lunch at about 1/4 after 12. I know that's early. We discussed that as teachers. We discussed that as administration. We're going to allow the students to eat snacks in the classroom as long as they're not making a mess of things. And we're going to try that. And if it goes wrong, you can blame me. But that is an early lunch for the 6th graders. On the flip side of that, there are so many positives to what we're going to try this year. We're going to open up the curriculum. We're going to open up the staff to our students in the middle school. We have Mr. Becky has done, she's awesome working with me. We have a lot of high school teachers teaching our 8th grade electives. We've opened up classes like creative writing, public speaking, local history to our 8th graders to hopefully transition them from middle school to high school as well. In the back of your packet, you're going to see all kinds of synopsis and little tidbits of what our middle school teachers are going to present to our students in these content elective classes. This is not going to be something that we just threw together. This is something that we really thought of. We talked about week standards, interventions, of stuff that our students need academically. So our teachers are really excited about this. I'm excited about it. And it is a change. So we'll roll with the punches and try to make it better as we move forward. So you have that schedule, you have the line schedule. As you flip to the data, I don't want to spend too much time about this, talking to you guys because I think you can look through it. I will say that I'm very proud of where we're at. Coming out of a COVID year, I expected, I think everybody would expect the numbers to go up. And they did that, and they went up significantly, especially for us in the area of English, ELA. We were working really hard with IU1 interventionalists to work on setting a curriculum that will help our students transition to high school, to find out what we need to get better at. And, again, these numbers we've increased in every grade and every subject, some significantly. But that's kind of where I think you would figure us to be coming out of COVID. It's not where we want to be, but it is impressive, considering we're making improvements. We're not taking steps back. So moving forward, hopefully second page of data, I did want to bring this up because Mr. Morgraff and myself really looked at this data. That when you look at the English and math test scores, we have a lot of students that are maybe 2 or 3 questions away from hitting that next tier, proficient or basic or advanced. So that's one thing that we're going to look at as a staff and maybe we can try to help target those students and try to move those students as well. The next page, you're going to see a list of students, and I'm very proud of these students. At the end of last year, we put an incentive in with our PDIS, and this is budgeted for this year. We said that any 7th or 8th grade student that was proficient or higher on the test in English or math, that they would have a trip at the beginning of this year. And we had 51 students qualify for that trip out of our middle school. So they will be going to Kennywood with some chaperones on August 19th as a reward for them. Very proud of those students. They are listed for you. I've called multiple times to try to get a hold of them. They're going to be listed in the FamilyGram, and we're going to put their names on the website as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions from Mr. Bourne? Senior high principal, Mrs. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. My report's a little bit different tonight. If you look at the blue bubble map paper that I gave you, I'm going to talk a little bit about Act 158. Act 158, for those of you that are not familiar with what that is, the Pennsylvania Department of Education passed that act saying that all graduating seniors must not only get the 25 required credits in the areas that they're required for graduation, but also must have a graduation pathway. And when you look at this, this is right off their website, so I'm going to give you like a quick overview and certainly will answer any questions you have. But each of the dark blue with the yellow writing in it is a pathway. So like the first and easiest pathway is Keystone Proficiency Pathway. And if you look, they take Keystones in algebra, biology, and literature. They would have to pass all 3 of those, check mark, you've met your pathway, okay? The second one is a composite score, and the composite scores for this current year, and this is the first year it counts, so the class of 2023, this is the first year they have to have one of these pathways. They only need 2 of their scores together because their algebra scores, when they were in 9th grade, was a COVID year, so they did not take a Keystone for algebra. So they only have 2 scores for the most part. So when you look at the composite scores, we have students with their biology and literature where they would not have anything below basic and would have an overall score that would get them through that pathway. Once you get away from the standardized testing pathway, it gets a little bit trickier. We have a CTE pathway, which would incorporate our kids that go to the Career Center and take the NOCTI exam. So to be able to take a NOCTI exam, you have to be in the same shop for 2 consecutive school years, and then at the end of your senior year, you take a NOCTI exam for certification. That would be one of them. The alternate assessment and the evidence-based pathways, those are where it gets a little bit trickier. And if you flip the page, you'll see some of the artifacts that are needed in those areas. Some of them are standardized test scores. Some of them are, jobs or college or experienced apprenticeships, stuff like that. So it gets a little bit more trickier. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I did give you the literature that shows that. If you turn through the packet a little bit more, it gets a little bit more into those pathways. There is an alternative pathway, which you'll see on my sheet that I shared with you with data. There is an Iep waiver and or a waiver that just came down for students of hardship. And those are 2 other ways that aren't necessarily listed as the main pathways. When you turn further in, there's pathways to graduation, which is the table. This is the table we actually shared with students in grades 8 through 11 last school year before we started to schedule with them, so that they knew this was coming, had the conversation with them, let them know the importance of the test. This is before they tested. And obviously that we're going to work with them to get them through these opportunities to pass. The next page that's called Pathways of Graduation, that's actually an actual form that we could use with students that needed the in-depth evidence to meet the graduation requirements. So I just wanted to show you all the different yeses or nos, mets or didn't meet. This is not an example that we completed with any specific student. That is just something off the PDE pathway that I wanted to share with you so you can see that. If you flip to the very last 2 pages, you'll see a yellow, green, and red paper, and you'll see some numbers and some words. That paper actually represents our actual students with their names redacted. So these are not, they're not in any particular order. There's nothing that gives away the actual student identity. But if you look at how we have it, anything that's highlighted yellow, you'll see at the end that they met the requirement somehow. Anything that is white or red, those are the students that we, as a group, meaning myself, my senior teachers, and Mrs. Pellin, the school counselor, will have to work with to make sure that they find their pathway. And I've also been working with Ms. Leesman, the counselor at the CTC, because some of these students are going to take the NOCD. But I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview, and I know that was super quick, because obviously if you hear Act 158 in the public or you have parents questioning it, I wanted to make sure that you knew what it was. I wanted you to make sure that you knew that we were working on it. And it's, it's definitely new to us, and it's definitely time consuming, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview. And certainly will answer any questions you have. The record keeper is mind-numbing, and I don't have anybody to keep the records. So what you're looking at right there in front of you is something that I spent a lot of time doing. And keep in mind, this isn't just for the class of 2023. Like, I'm going 2024, 2025, so on and so forth. So I just printed this one because this is the most complete one, because obviously we're prepping them to graduate in June.
What's your personal opinion of this?
I personally think that the state continues to give us these type of acts and no support, no money. I'm a career counselor. To help with this stuff would be wonderful, but they don't give us anything to support that.
Thank you.
I had a boss at Waynesburg who worked on the West Coast and was from Arkansas and landed in Waynesburg at the end of his career and described PD as the worst bureaucratic organization he ever encountered in his entire career. So there you go.
There you go.
Good job.
Any comments or questions
That was my comment.
other than that? From Mrs. DeBecke?
And just, if I can say one more thing, the open house that we're having in August, I think it's the 25th, I am gonna schedule time with 9th grade parents at the beginning of that for Mrs. Pellin and I to continue to talk about this, because it starts in the 9th grade. Like, some of the stuff that we're doing with 9th graders. They're taking keystones. They're in these trigger classes, is what they're calling, because you have to pass the keystone class and the test. So we're gonna make sure that we're stressing the importance of that in an open house setting.
Yeah, thank you for the in-depth.
Thank you.
And just to piggyback on that, with the open house, it is the 25th from 6 to 8. So if any of you would like to come and attend any of that, it'll be district-wide, so both buildings. So we'll get more information out about that sooner. And just so you know, that is the date we're having our open house.
Anything else? Technology Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Wrapping up summer projects. It was a fast summer. Feels like yesterday we were just at graduation, but school's going to start before we know it. Student Chromebooks are on their way to their new teachers' home rooms. The 2 Carmichael students we had working through Southwest Training Services, Daniel Hedrick, Justin Manning, they wrapped up on July 29th. They were super helpful. I'll miss them, and they're both going to be future careers in technology because they're really good, even at their age. Teacher PC upgrades, I'm in the process of installing the new hard drives, migrating data, and setting up their workstations. Elementary is completed, and I'm working on middle school, high school currently. New administrative PCs and office PCs are all installed, up and running, and we now have wireless internet out in the field house. Right now, there's no password. It's just called Field House Wi-Fi. We are going to put a password on it and post that password inside the building, just to kind of mitigate as many users as possible. We don't want to be giving Wi-Fi away to maybe our opponents on a Friday night or something where, if we're going to have that advantage, we'll keep it for ourselves. I am going to put an additional access point downstairs. That building's made of metal and concrete, and it is not the best for a Wi-Fi signal. So I'm going to add one more downstairs so that coaches' rooms and locker rooms get a better reception. I'm meeting with our phone company, Full Service Network, on Monday to get some phones out there as well. So I'm assuming we're going to use some similar AirBridge, which is how I got our network out there. They're going to do the same with their network so that we can have phones in the trainer's room, the coach's office, and in the common area for the weight room. So that'll all be wrapped up. Second thing, big thing, is Verkada Security. I want to thank everybody here that helped work with getting that system wrapped up, especially the way it was conducted. It actually shipped. The company was able to secure our equipment, and it's going to start arriving next week. So I'm going to try. I can't make promises, but I'm going to try to get it installed prior to the school year. Realistically, with everything else going on, it's probably going to be more of a phased approach, because our current system, even though it's not the greatest, it is still up and running. And as I install cameras, I'll slowly take the old ones off and install the new ones. So we'll probably operate on a dual system, not very long, maybe a month in the school, and then we'll be on the new Verkada system. So again, I thank everyone there, because there was a chance we weren't going to get them, and now we did. So that's awesome. Finally, just a couple considerations moving forward. Believe it or not, Breeze Line, formerly Atlantic Broadband, they've had some uptime connectivity issues. There was a vandalism issue that wiped out everybody over the summer, and then there was another issue just a week ago that was an issue. And that hasn't been something that historically was a problem with Breeze Line, but now that it is, I reached out to Full Service for a backup option for our phone system. You know, if our internet service goes down, how do we keep our phones working in the building? What they recommended was a wireless card, like a mobile cell phone card, that could be installed into that equipment, so that if our internet provider goes down, we hop on an AT&T or Verizon, whichever mobile provider is best in this area, and we still have our phones. I have the cost there listed. It's not extreme. It's about $610 one-time fee, and then about $50 a month added on to that. Yeah, if that's something we want to pursue, I can get official paperwork on it. I just thought I'd have the numbers for you if that was something that you'd like to consider. Two more considerations. The IU1 contract for our data, Pennsylvania Information Management System, or PIMS, has expired. I did get a request for a quote to extend that through December. I might be able to pull some money out of the technology budget to cover that, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. It's super helpful. I mean, the IU, I can't thank them enough. Miranda Thomas especially has been a huge help in cleaning up our data here in our system, and then also submitting that all to the state. And then finally, attached, I have an E-rate contract. Kristen Van Streen's retirement, she was our E-rate support through the IU, has retired. The IU is now switching over to this person, this group, the Education Plus LLC. I just wanted to get as many eyes on the contract as possible, and get your opinions on if you think this might be a valuable choice to go with for our support in E-rate. I have a pretty big E-rate project planned for next school year, as far as beefing up our infrastructure and moving us to a 10 gig internet connection. That's going to require a lot of replacement hardware parts, servers, switches, not necessarily servers, switches and closets, and it's all 80% reimbursable. Now the issue with E-rate is if you make one misstep filing this E-rate process, you lose funding. So it's kind of pretty important that every T gets crossed and I gets dotted. And this was the IU's recommendation on who they're using and who they think we should use. So I included it. And if you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to answer. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Townsend? I'd like to make one observation for the public. We are installing a new security camera system and trying to keep our kids as safe as possible. Everything that goes on anymore in this world. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there'll be a new system installed as soon as we get it in. Thank you. Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Franks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this summer went by just as fast as always before, maybe a little faster this year. My crew's keeping the grounds looking pretty good. Football field's nice, bright and green. The cleaning and waxing is wrapping up. The terrazzo and the halls will be finished next week for the, we always do the halls last. All the rooms are wrapping up. Teachers are actually coming into most of them at this point. We have improvements to many spaces underway for which we have materials on order. There will be some of the improvements unfinished at the start of the school year. Specifically, some rooms that were not air conditioned ever up until last year won't be finished until the new parts come in. We've got some small closets being used as offices, etc. And this is all in addition. Currently, every piece of HVAC equipment we have in the district is all functioning perfectly normal now at this point. One of wonderful job of splitting the system up. We have ductless split units. Each room has its own standalone air conditioning. The advantage is that it never all goes down at once, just one at a time. And it was really nice. We had we're able to keep everything operating very easily that way because we never have any big problems. One of the original trains, however, all of them run on refrigerant 22, which is no longer being made. And we have been finding compressors to keep things repaired. But one of them did fail, had multiple component failures, and I found that the train compressor was roughly $1,200, and Daikin is a manufacturer which we have many of their pieces of equipment on the renovation on our building. Daikin, for the price of a compressor, we got a completely new system, both pieces and all the connecting parts. And my lead technician, Carl Sander, accomplished that change out in room 309 down there, and it's working beautifully, better than the R22 system before it. So it looks like that will be the future, as we won't be able to get parts eventually for those units, the old ones. This is where we're going with them, and it's actually a very economical upgrade. It doesn't cost us more than what the repair would cost us if we could have gotten the part. So I don't want, we're doing a million things. I'm in the kitchen personally with the dishwasher and a steamer, and I'm not gonna bore you with all that. We just came out of the pandemic, and we hope that the pandemic is totally over. But I want to tell you that all of those measures we took, the spacing, the tables necessary, the gym for lunches, eating in the gym, the hand sanitizers, the hand wipes, the masks, we have things in stock. If we should find ourselves in that situation, we can immediately respond to it and step back into whatever protective mode we need to go to. So that's just about it. And to get it as short as possible, and I'll abbreviate, our staff and maintenance staff is strictly about getting into school, getting all the classrooms done, and getting ready to get started. We're well on schedule. Everything's looking good. And we'll continue with the long-term projects, weekends and after hours, or in areas that aren't being used at the time. But we're going to be ready for the opening of school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Franks. Any comments or questions for Mr. Franks?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Again, I'd like to say, Mr. Franks, that your job, your people, you do a fantastic job in keeping the outside of this area, this school district, fantastic. Very nice, very nice. That's all I'm gonna say.
My people, thank you very much.
I have a question about the air handler that you had an issue with. Is that just a single problem we had with that? Or is that something that needs to be looked at on all the air handlers?
We had, I believe what we're talking about is in this very room, we had some kind of a power surge. On the same time, we lost a compressor in unit 1, and we lost a motor in air handler 2, and that actually caused a fire alarm. The smoke in the ductwork set the fire alarm off and resulted in a very exciting morning with fire trucks and all this, but this isn't an isolated problem. It's just some of this equipment, like that air handler, was an original piece that when I came here, it was here. And the motor's been replaced, the system's operating right now. And it's not anything that we need to look at anything else, anywhere else for.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Franks. Student representative? Committee reports. And again, I'd like to ask for your indulgence. We have a lot of motions and votes, so it's going to take a while. Human Resources, Mrs. Wojtek.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Student readmission. Motion to approve one student readmission as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Cross. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Policy second reading. Motion to approve the second reading of policy items A and B below as presented. A, 215 promotion and retention, and B, 249 bullying and cyberbullying.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Sublist addendum cafeteria. Motion to approve the substitute list addendum as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Collins. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Sodexo Food Service Employee List 2022-23. Motion to approve the food service employment list for the 2022-23 as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Textbook list 2022-23. Motion to approve the textbook list as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Collins. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Master Schedules 2022-23. Motion to approve the 2022-23 master schedules as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Act 93 salary increases. Motion to approve the Act 93 Class 1 and Class 2 salary percentages, 3% for 22-23 and 2.5% for the remainder of the contract as presented, along with raising the second year salary of Mr. Dan Poland to $84,475 as noted in the comprehension plan.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Collins. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Superintendent's salary increase. Motion to approve the superintendent's salary increase based on percentages 2.5% of the remaining contract as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Middle school social studies position. Motion to offer the middle school social studies position to Robin Karen as recommended by the superintendent with salary set at masters, step 1, and terms per the professional contract effective the 2022-23 school year.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Collins. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Can I clarify? It's supposed to be middle, senior, high.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Middle, senior, high.
High, yeah,
Thank
okay.
you. I wondered what that was. I'm gonna write it down so I'll remember next time. Thank
Any
you.
other discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Resignation, senior class sponsor. Motion to accept the resignation of Melissa Christopher, senior class sponsor, dated June 24th, 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Senior class sponsor. Motion to offer the senior class sponsor extracurricular position to Nicole Moorcraft and Carrie Thomas as co-sponsors with split salary and terms per the professional contract effective the 2022-23 school year.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion? Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Resignation, Senior High Student Council Sponsor. Motion to accept the resignation of Jessica Hathaway, Senior High Student Council Sponsor, dated June 10th, 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Senior High Student Council. Motion to offer the Senior High Student Council Sponsor extracurricular position to Lisa Robinson with salary and terms per the professional contract effective the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Mr. Gansey, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Sabbatical leave request. Motion to approve the restoration of health sabbatical leave request for one middle school teacher for the 2022-23 school year, effective August 23rd, 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May, any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
I'm not sure how I can comment on this, but I've expressed concerns, and I think we do need to follow up with procedure. But I don't know how to say it other than that, so. Does that make sense, Mr. Martin?
Yes, it does.
And I believe that once we get more information with the return piece, then we'll be able to discuss that a little bit more, so.
And this is more general, not this particular.
Yes, yes.
Moving forward.
I understand.
Right.
Any other discussions, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
School officer position. Motion to offer a 9-month school police position to Rob Toth with salary set at $19 per hour with no benefits effective August 23rd, 2022. This will be a year-to-year renewable position.
Second.
No, she said 19.
I said 19. Mhm.
We have a motion on the floor, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Intervention specialist position. Motion to approve the temporary grant-funded intervention specialist position to Natalie Kraus with salary and terms per Article 8? No, 13 of the current, I need glasses, of the current CAEA contract effective August 23rd, 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Is
See
there a
how
second
hard
to this
it is.
motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion?
Just so the board knows, these are positions we had last year that were grant funded, and we just have to renew them every year. So for the 3 years of the grant is where these are being covered from. So this one and the next one as well.
I want to comment that person's not related to me, it's not even spelled the same way.
That's why we voted for.
Any other comments? Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion and a second. Is there, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Guidance counselor position. Motion to approve the temporary grant-funded guidance counselor position to Joshua Jackson with salary and terms per Article 13 of the current CAEA contract effective August 20th, 2022.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Commons. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
CAEA Memorandum of Understanding, Virtual Learning. Motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with CAEA as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion?
Just so everyone knows, same cost as last year.
All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
IU1 Memorandum of Understanding. Motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with the IU1 as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
IU1 Title III Consortium. Motion to approve the 2022-23 consortium as presented.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kraus. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
SAP Liaison Services and Prevention Planning Agreement 2022-23. Motion to approve the 2022-23 agreement with Greene County Human Services as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Emergency Instructional Time 2022-23. Motion to approve the emergency instructional time for 2022-23 as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Bryant. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Health and Safety Plan 2022-23. Motion to approve the Health and Safety Plan for 2022-23 as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May. Any discussion on this motion?
Just have a comment. I believe that was a pretty big report that you guys put together, was that not?
Yeah, it's a pretty significant document.
Yeah, I just wanted to commend y'all. I know that wasn't easy.
Thank you,
Whoever was involved.
all of us.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of this motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Hope Squad Agreement. Motion to approve the Hope Squad Agreement as presented.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Commons. Mr. Commons. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Title I School-Wide Plan 2022-23. Motion to approve the 2022-23 Title I School-Wide Plan as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
School-Based Access Program 2022-23. Motion to participate in the 2022-23 School-Based Access Program as presented. Penn State Memorandum of Agreement.
There's a motion.
As presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
I'm
Mr.
getting
Collins.
tired. Is it my nap time yet?
Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Now you can read that.
Okay. Penn State Memorandum of Agreement.
Almost done.
Motion to approve the 2022-23 Memorandum of Agreement with Penn State as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor, seconded by Mr. May.
Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Waynesburg University Department of Nursing Memorandum of Agreement. Motion to approve the 2022-23 Memorandum of Agreement with Waynesburg University Department of Nursing as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor, seconded by Mr. Kraus. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
CASD Resolution. Motion to approve the temporary provision of instruction resolution as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Gansey. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I have one informational item, student-teacher affiliation agreements. Notification of student-teacher affiliation agreement with Waynesburg, approved June 2018, and West Virginia University School of Nursing, approved May 2018 for 5 years. No action necessary. And that concludes my report, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mrs. Wojcik. Do we need a break?
Yeah, no, just a drink of water.
Budget and Finance, Mr. Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Bank signature cards. Motion to approve the bank signature cards as presented.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Audit Contract 2022-2024. Motion to approve audit contract with Hosack, Speck, Mutzel, and Wood LLP as presented.
Motion on the floor, second.
Second.
Mrs. Wojtek? Any discussion on the motion?
These are the same people we've had?
Yes.
I thought it was.
Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
M-Class Dibbles. Motion to approve the purchase of M-Class Dibbles series from Amplify at a cost of $21,456 for 3 years as presented.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mrs. Wojtek, any discussion on the motion?
Like Mr. Gansey said, he doesn't know who that, does
It's-
anybody want to explain that a little bit?
That's what I was gonna
I
ask, too.
I don't know.
It's a way to, they test the kids, so Dibbles is a format where they bring kids one-on-one, test them to see what they know, and then do that periodically throughout the year. So, so it's just, like I said, it's just testing the kids to see what letters, specific letter sounds they know. It's really, we've used it, this, I think, is just pushing us up to the next level with that. But it's a really, really good program. Mrs.
Yeah.
Krause, our
They
intervention
start in
specialist, is
kindergarten.
using it and seeing a lot of gains with kids because of it, so it's a nice program, yes.
Thank you.
Comes out of the university board.
I didn't want to ask.
There's no relationship to Dr. Krause, yeah.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Verkada Security. Motion to approve the lease of security cameras with Zycom Technology Group Incorporated at a cost of $212,271 over a term of 5 years as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Kraus, any discussion or comments?
Just so the public knows, a down payment of $100,000 with that was through grant money, and then the rest is being financed through 5 years. And we'll own the technology for 10 years, with no payment. So it's a great price and a great system for our district, just so the public knows how we're spending.
That's what I was talking about with the upgraded security system. And a lot of work, kudos to Mr. Townsend for this. Motion and second on the floor. Is there all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Collins.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ganesson, athletics and activities.
Okay, on field trips 2022 to 23, motion to approve the budgeted field trips for 22-23 as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Pratt, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Football team position 22-23, motion to approve Dr. J.S. Gosai and Dr. Matt Burkett of Green Tree Medical Center, PC, to provide team physician coverage during the 22-23 football season at a cost of $150 per game as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mrs. Wojtek, any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
EMS Southwest agreement, motion to approve the agreement with EMS Southwest is presented with a cost of $140 per hour per ambulance per event effective June the 21st to December 31st, 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Collins, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Gansey. Transportation, Mr. Pratt.
STA driver list 2022-23, motion to approve the 2022-23 bus/van driver list as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Bus routes 2022-23, motion to approve the 2022-23 bus routes as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mrs. Wojtek, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Facilities, motion to approve the request for facilities items through C below as presented. A, King Cole Association, auditorium, classrooms, August 18th and 21st, 2022. B, King Cole Association football/baseball, August 20th, 2022. C, Western PA Families Fallen Heroes, High School Gym, June 8th and 10th, 2023. Carmichael's Youth Football, football field, concession stand, announcers booth, August 20th, 28th, and September 17th, 24.
I think that should say through A through D above, so we'll correct that.
Oh, yes.
All right, do we have a motion on the floor? Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. Coleman, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Business manager, I need to make a motion for the, or no, make the motion, to request a motion for the payments.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Bills for payment, motion to approve the bills for payment in the amount of $1,792,740.90 as presented.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Kraus. A second to this motion?
Second.
Mr. May? Any discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Oh, roll call, I'm sorry.
Roll call on it.
Mr. Commons?
Yes.
Mr. Farrer?
Stay.
Mr. Ganesey?
Yes.
Dr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade? Yes. Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
Ms. Wojtek?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Secretary, Treasurer, Financial Reports. Motion to approve the Secretary, Treasurer, and other financial reports as presented.
Mr. Ganesey makes the motion.
I'll make
Need
the
a second to that
motion.
motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Kraus, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Federal programs, Mr. Barry's not here. Legislative report, Mrs. Wade?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Public relations, nothing. Comprehensive plan, Mr. Commons?
I think we had our first meeting, the group, on July 15th, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Left,
we basically did a SWOT analysis, and I think that the whole report is due in March 2023?
In March, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to follow up, it was really, we had a great group of people here. Actually, they had a chance to offer suggestions on where the comprehensive plan goes from this point, so we've got a lot of great suggestions that we're gonna work on. Plan on having another meeting, maybe late August, early September. There are some other people who wanted to join, just to get some other ideas and finalize some plans, and then we'll get moving with that comprehensive plan. So I'll have more to report, once we get down the road a little bit with it, so.
Thank you. GCC and TC representative, Mr. May.
Earlier, we were fortunate to have Mr. Krupus down here for another matter, and he talked to the board about some of the future expansion that we're planning to do up to CTC with the new building from, was it Iron Synergy? Iron Synergy, I always get that wrong. That's donated us a large building and some, like 45 acres of property. So he gave us, the board, a nice explanation of that, and I thought it went well, so looking forward to good things up there.
Appreciate your work on that too, thank you. I'd like to say that we had a long meeting, and appreciate your indulgence. And we have a long wait till we have our next board meeting. We'll be into football season and then we'll be back in school, so hope everything goes well. And now, if nobody has anything else for the good of this school, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Kraus. We have a second.
Second.
Mr. Ganesey. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tracy. Oh,